we've got to talk about the report in Politico, Stephen, because they're speaking of being chicken. As I mentioned in the intro, she's now having full staff meetings about to whom she should grant an interview. Reading you some of the reporting. Her promise was to have an interview scheduled by the end of this month. Not actually to do one, but to have one scheduled. Well, that gives her 4 days till Saturday. Her campaign staff has been asking reporters who they think she should talk to. Behind the scenes, TV producers and big name anchors have been calling the campaign to pitch their talent as the person she must do it with. She's had a light schedule since accepting the nomination, Thursday in Chicago, and several sources said she's been using the time not just to prepare for her debate, but to map out a media strategy for the next few weeks. So she's spending her days mapping out her media strategy. Who should you send your pitch to? Politico posits. One source of intrigue concerns who in Harris' world will actually make the decision on who she's going to sit with. Brian Fallon, the campaign's senior advisor for communications, is generally considered the key person. But the interview must be also coordinated with Harris's official office, where the communications director is Kristen Allen. We hear there are some tensions. Another source with knowledge of the process says that Stephanie Cutter, senior advisor for message and strategy, will have an outsized role as well. Campaign chair Jen O'Malley Dillon, senior advisor David Plouffe represent yet another camp. And Maya Harris, her sister, along with Tony West, the sister's husband, will weigh in with their own views. Really? The political operatives on this list all have long-term relationships with TV networks and their major talent. Harris herself has expressed disagreement with that view, we're told by two people, telling some Democrats she doesn't need a big, showy interview. In October, she did one with 60 Minutes and talked foreign policy. Some of the exchanges were testy, and some Harris aides came away unhappy with the experience. And here's the capper. Here is the capper. What about Tim? Asks Politico. One of the issues that Harris' world is currently working to address is how to deploy running mate Tim Walz in the media. The danger in sending him out to do big solo interviews is that he might not have a full command of where Harris is on every issue. Duh. Same, Tim. Same. As someone pointed out last night, Harris talks about the opportunity economy. But if Walz were asked to define it, would he know how? Even he doesn't know her policies. She's having full strategy meetings with outside media about what she should do. She can't function as vice president. All she can do is plan her media strategy. But Trump is the one who's chicken about this debate.
If you go back to her 2020 campaign, the thing you have to understand, Kamala Harris, she's a California Hollywood diva. She demanded that when she was attorney general, that her staff called her general and stood up to greet her in the morning. That was a famous one. If you go back to her 2020 campaign, and then also New York Times and Politico had stories about the dysfunction in her office. She had a 92% staff turnover rate in 3 years.
Megyn
Now,
Markle.
I know Trump isn't. Yeah, no, that's a very good analogy of her. And so now you're seeing there was huge reports about why her campaign fell apart in 2020, and her sister had a lot to do with that as well. You had what basically turned into a viper's pit, where you had everyone trying to get access to her, and everyone's trying to chime in, and everyone's trying to pull her in one or two directions. And when that happens, you ultimately don't take a stance on anything. And that's why her campaign collapsed. This was a huge story. I think it was in Politico even back then. It just went down the line about all of the missteps about her campaign, and she's doing it again. And so what you have now, and this is for people who know that inside baseball, you kind of sit back and watch this unfold. And now what you have are Obama's people and David Plouffe and Steph Cutter trying to make decisions. Then you have people in her office, Kristen Allen and her sister, trying to make decisions. You also have Biden's people in that room trying to make decisions in his advisors. And Jen O'Malley Dillon, who was Biden's campaign manager. So you have three different groups of people all trying to figure out how to make this thing work. And so you're going to have Obama's people telling her, you're Obama, hope and change. And then you're going to have Biden's people saying, well, you can't go too far away from Biden. You can't throw him away because you owe him. And also, if you run farther away from him, people are going to just say, Does that mean the last 3 years weren't a success? And then you have her sister in her ear being like, don't listen to any of these people, just put it on TikTok. And this is going to lead to an explosion of egos. And we see this with Trump also. Trump's kind of, a megalomaniac billionaire. And so you're going to be dealing with all of these problems. And so she's still, at the end of the day, I like to say this, she is still at the end of the day Kamala Harris. With the lights and the shows and the puff pieces and the convention and everything like that, she's still Kamala Harris, and you don't change who that is. And
she's still Kamala Harris with all of her history of what she's done and what she hasn't done and what she still might do. That's Kamala Harris. I will say this, just a point of comparison. When I saw Trump a year ago, it was July of 23, at a Charlie Kirk Turning Point event, I saw him. We had a private hello. That's it. Just like, hey, how are you? It's been a long time. How are you? Good. I said, I'd love to sit with you for an interview. He said, okay, we'll do it. And then he did it. That was it. There wasn't a team of managers. His campaign staff was nearby. They weren't like, oh, God, damn Trump.
JD Vance has done 7 interviews in 2 weekends.
Mm-hmm. He made the call. Yeah. He's the boss of his own campaign. He doesn't need 40 handlers, Stu, to tell him what his next move should be, either in the Oval Office or while trying to get there.
That's true, although I will say you guys are ignoring the interview she did with Tim Walz, in which they discussed what seasonings white people eat. That did occur, and I just don't want to brush that under the.
And then they found a recipe where he said he doesn't season his food, and they found a recipe that he wrote where it's all seasoning. That's
I know he couldn't even tell the truth on that, which is incredible. Yeah. I mean, they literally found the sequel to George Santos to nominate as their vice president. Like every part of this guy's life is false. But you're right. Like Donald Trump doesn't, he doesn't care. And JD Vance, I think, has been really impressive on this. He goes wherever.
He says yes to everyone.
Wherever. Yeah, he'll talk to anyone, and he takes them on, and he wins these arguments. And he's winning arguments not against journalists, but with people advocating for the PR room of the White House. And he continually does this, and Trump does it quite a bit as well. It should be more common and honestly completely required, that type of attitude, to win the presidency of the United States. Should it not? You should be able to be willing to go out there and do that. You can't ask reporters which world leader you're going to meet with when they're threatening to nuke you. You have to be able to be quick on your feet. And Kamala Harris has shown the exact opposite trait for her entire career. The media is going to do everything they can to hide her until November. And so far, they've been able to do it. If it works this well, though, if this can actually happen in our country, we deserve every little bit of this that we get.
You know how much our family loves our dogs, right? Even Strudwick, sweet, troublesome, but adorable Strudwick. We love him. I can't even imagine life without them. They have a great life. They're lucky. But some dogs don't and aren't. That's why I'm so glad to tell you about Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They have rescued thousands of dogs, plus cats and horses too. They provide all of the animals with shelter and safety, and most of all, love. And they've been doing it now for more than 45 years. Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions to stay open, and giving can bring tax benefits to you too. Speak with your estate planner about how you can grow your estate while helping animals in need. And check out the estate planning tab on their website to learn more. We love our Thunder and Strudwick, but we love these other animals too. We just can't house and care for them all. But maybe all of us can help them find love and shelter at Delta Rescue. Go to deltarescue.org today to learn more. That's deltarescue.org. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.